Sehr geehrter Herr Präsident, lieber Vizepräsident, meine Damen und Herren, aber auch Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Es ist für mich schon heute eine ganz besondere Ehre, als Präsidentin des Kongresses der Gemeinden und Regionen Europas den Kongress hier im Ausschuss der Regionen vertreten zu dürfen und über unsere Arbeit, aber auch über unsere Zusammenarbeit zu sprechen. Das ist schon wirklich was Besonderes und es freut mich auch sehr, dass 52 Kolleginnen und Kollegen, die hier im Ausschuss der Regionen Mitglieder sind, auch Mitglieder des Kongresses der Gemeinden und Regionen sind. Das zeigt, wie eng eigentlich auch unsere Zusammenarbeit und Kooperation ist und wie sie sein kann. Meine Damen und Herren, Englisch und Französisch ist im Kongress, wie wir uns kurz nennen, also wir sagen nicht immer Kongress der Gemeinden und Regionen Europas im Europarat, wir nennen uns Kongress und im Kongress sind die offiziellen Sprachen Englisch und Französisch und therefore I will continue in English. I think it's okay.
You could use Swedish as well for
Jo, det kan jag också göra. Jag kan prata svenska, sa presidenten, för dem. Ja, det ser jag en kollega. Men jag tror att det är bättre att jag fortsätter på engelska.
Okay,
so, there are several important anniversaries to be celebrated in 2017. I just named those. The President also mentioned some of them. The 60th anniversary of the Treaty of Rome and hence to the creation of the European communities. Then we have the 60th anniversary of the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, since its predecessor met the first time in January 1957. And finally, as you said already, and I hope I see many of you I will meet many of you in Strasbourg, the 10th anniversary of the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Council of Europe and the European Union. The Congress within the Council of Europe, the Committee of Region within the EU share the same fundamental values, human rights, democracy, and rule of law. They perform differently, work with different European member states, but in a complementarity role. And it's hence to this natural that our cooperation has been developing steadily along the years and is of an added value for our both organizations, as you said, and we really try to improve this cooperation as it's so important as we are local and regional politicians and we are closest to our citizens, to the European citizens. So therefore we know where the problems are and where we really can help and build up a strong democracy. Strong regionalization, strong democracies, and effective local and regional self-government, that's what we work for, contribute to stability and democracy within each country and Europe as a whole. And this is more important than ever. We believe that local and regional authorities should be closely involved in decision-making processes at national and European level, whilst also being given a proper political and legal framework and sufficient means to exercise their duties and responsibilities in serving the citizens. This holds especially true for finding and implementing solutions in the ongoing refugee crisis, as you know, and I'm very pleased that this was outlined also in the latest Congress report by Gudrun Mosler-Törnström. She was the rapporteur on this report. Recent studies carried out by the Congress showed that decentralization has barely made any progress in member states over the past decade. We are as well aware that devolution is a lengthy and complex process often countered by tendencies to re-centralize power. And we have to do everything not to move backwards. As entrusted by the Committee of the Ministers of the Council of Europe, the Congress is fulfilling its mission as guardian of democracy at local and regional levels through monitoring of the European Charter of Local Self-Government, a convention ratified by 47 member states. And the Congress monitors its implementation through country-specific visits. And 18 such visits are scheduled for 2017 and 2018. We are then able to provide constructive advice both on legalization and on practices related to local and regional authorities' competencies and aims through specific recommendations addressed to the national authorities. These monitoring reports have allowed us to identify a number of recurring issues relevant for local and regional authorities. And I just want to highlight 3 of them. The first one, restricted definition, allocation, and exercises of local competencies. The inadequacy of financial resources in relation to the tasks conferred, and the lack of consultation by central governments. Dear colleagues, anniversaries are always a good opportunity or occasion to take stock of the achievements and chalk out plans for the future. I'm satisfied with the concrete results of our cooperation over the past years, and Presidents, and your colleagues, I want to highlight some of them just to show how much we already achieved. The first example concerns our cooperation on priority thematic issues of mutual interest. The Congress' current priorities for 2017 to 2020 are regrouped along 2 main lines of action: enhancing the quality of local and regional democracy, and the second line, building safe and inclusive societies that respect diversity. A concrete example of our cooperation on thematic issues is our recent conference on the role of local and regional authorities in preventing corruption and promoting good governance. This successful and very interesting event was jointly organized by the Congress and the Committee of Regions in Brussels on 28th of February 2017. Fighting corruption is a prerequisite of good local governments and is indispensable for regaining citizens' trust. Last year, the Congress adopted a roadmap of activities for preventing corruption and promoting public ethics at local and regional levels. We are also currently updating our European Code of Conduct for the political integrity of local and regional elected representatives, which was adopted already 20 years ago. So it's time to update this code. The second example I wish to put forward is our cooperation on the local and regional election observation missions. As I said, we will have 18 missions during 2017 and 2018. And since 2005, the Congress has been inviting the Committee of Regions to join us in election observation missions. And since 2012, members of the COR have participated in 15 election missions. So I'm very grateful for that, because this cooperation is very useful, because you are visiting also states who want to become members of the European Union, and you get to know those countries very well through those missions. Thirdly, in addition, an additional example is how the COR and the Congress now coordinate their cooperation at the highest political level. You already mentioned this. And I want to tell you, since Jean-Claude Fréquent, my predecessor, addressed the COR plenary session in December 2015, he was the first president who has done this, a new coordination body has been established, the high-level group between the COR and the Congress. And we have already held 2 meetings, the last one organized in Paris at the beginning of this year. Such high-level political coordination is extremely valuable for our respective work in promoting and consolidating local self-government, especially in EU candidate countries and in its neighboring countries. And fourth, this leads me to my following point, which is, in my opinion, a major area for cooperation and coordination. It is linked to our respective external policies. The Congress and the COR are in a position to contribute to such political agendas through dialogue and regular exchange of information on developments in the member states, candidate or neighboring countries. I want to mention especially the monitoring reports on the Congress. One obvious example is Turkey. Turkey is an EU candidate country and a long-standing Council of Europe member state. In the past months, since the coup in July 2016, the various bodies of the Council of Europe have been actively involved in dialogue with interlocutors at different levels. On one side, the Congress has been dealing with issues of concern for local self-government. Congress Vice President Anders Knappe and Lien Verbeek, the chair of the Congress Monitoring Committee, have carried out fact-finding missions to Turkey to investigate the sharp increase in arrests, detentions, and removal of office of elected mayors and municipal councillors. In its recommendation, the Congress expressed its conviction that the arrest and removal of office of so many local elected representatives in Turkey is damaging local democracy in that country and seriously weakening civil society and the political parties. It condemned the excessive use of lengthy pre-trial detention of local politicians and called on the Turkish authorities to urgently re-examine their situation and to rescind the legislation that it has recently introduced, which enables the central authorities to appoint civil servants as caretaker mayors. It is absolutely necessary that the Congress and the COR maintain their dialogue in order to better assess the political situation in the country, as well as to hold a coherent position and provide appropriate responses within the global framework of our respective organizations. Another main field of cooperation is the EU Eastern Partnership, set up at the end of 2008, which encompasses the 5 countries that are members of the Council of Europe, like Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, and Belarus as non-member state. In Ukraine, for instance, the Congress signed a roadmap 2015 to accompany the country in the implementation of its decentralization reforms based on the Congress monitoring report and on the work of Congress representatives in the Constitutional Committee of the Verkhovna Rada. Moreover, practical cooperation programs are being designed and implemented in all 6 Eastern Partnership countries, including Ukraine. Activities for supporting mayors in their roles as leaders for change, capacity building activities of local authorities with a focus on young people engaged in social and political activities, dissemination of best practices of local democracy on a peer-to-peer basis among elected politicians. In this regard, I thank the COR for inviting Congress to actively participate in the meetings of the Committee of the Regions Task Force in Ukraine. This is very valuable. Through this, our institutions can jointly support the reforms in the country. And I'm happy to attend the meeting, the next meeting in June in Kyiv. So we will meet there again and work together for better democracy, regionalization, and help so many countries with the know-how from us all. Fifth, and now let's look outside of Europe, of the European borders, and to enhance cooperation in order to increase stabilization and resilience in the neighboring countries. I am deeply convinced that the southern Mediterranean is an area where the Congress and the COR can develop stronger and valuable synergies. The Congress has was recently engaged in cooperation programs in Tunisia and Morocco. Piero Fossino is our Congress spokesman for the SouthMed cooperation activities. Regular contacts between Arlem and the Congress are already in place, and this dialogue will no doubt lead to future mutually beneficial cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to conclude with some final remarks which should guide our action in the future. The Committee of Regions and the Congress support and enrich one another reciprocally. We strive to ensure that we do not duplicate work, as you said, and I'm glad that we have found ways to reinforce our cooperation. The high-level group, which we have recently set up, is a very concrete way of politically coordinating our actions on selected issues of true common interest and concern. The next step will be our joint thematic event on fighting corruption on the 5th of July 2017 in Strasbourg, to celebrate our partnership in the framework of the 10th anniversary of the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding between the European Union and the Council of Europe. I shall be pleased to welcome the COR President Markula, you, Karl-Heinz Lamberts, and several members of the COR in Strasbourg on this occasion. It will be a good occasion to present our joint work to the members of the European Parliament and the ambassadors who represent the member states in the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. Dear ladies and gentlemen, now we have the chance to discuss. I thank you for your attention, and once more, I'm really glad to be here today.